NERDSoul.
Why are you a black man in love? Hey y'all, thank you for joining us once again for Black Together, a walk in her shoes. We want to, off the top, thank NERDSoul for allowing us to be on his platform. I am Lady Lisa.
And I'm Kim, aka Madam Butterfly.
All right. I want to remind you that you can watch NERDSoul on ThatNERDSoul.com. You can check out me and NERDSoul Tuesdays on the original Black Together. And he will be with the Four Horsemen on Wednesdays for Beats Vibes Life. And once again, you can catch he and I on Lounging on Friday nights. That's ThatNERDSoul.com. And also check out some merchandise. Get you a hat, get you a sweatshirt on shop ThatNERDSoul.com. All right, so Madam Butterfly, what do we have in our shoebox today?
Well, today we have a pair of Native American deerskin moccasins because we are talking about so-called good hair and the natural hair movement.
Oh, okay. I was not expecting that. You went au natural. Okay.
Oh, I was saying
Last
you
week
can't
was the
win
tap
whether it's.
shoe. This
I'm
week
just
is the
saying
soft shoe.
whether it's being natural with the natural hair and being a part of the earth, or whether it's claiming you got good hair because you got Indian in your family, works
Mm,
either way.
mm.
Works either way. So I figured that was appropriate.
Righty. Okay. We just go get in and get started. All right. So we are talking about natural hair, the natural hair movement, the natural hair journey. That seems to be a thing, if you will, for Black women right now. So, in your opinion, Kim, like how, why, maybe even when did this new natural hair movement come about? We know there was a kind of a natural hair movement that went along with the Black Power movement,
Right.
some years ago. So, what do you think brought about the natural hair movement that's going on now?
I think it's kind of been a gradual thing from uh kind of the rising of like the whole neo soul type of vibe. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the Erica Badu's, the India Aries, the Jill Scotts,
Mm-hmm.
you know, women seem to start to embrace being natural again. And it seems like we kind of go through these ebbs and flows with that because like you said, with the Black Power movement, and then also I want to say it was like the maybe early 90s when you had like De La Soul and Poor
Mm-hmm.
Righteous Teachers and that kind of movement in hip hop where things were very earthy and organic.
Mm-hmm.
um so I think that that, and then just the sign of the times right now socially, how I think everything has kind of bubbled to the surface as far as um, us being marginalized in a very profound way, and people just identifying more with um, natural states. And that's
Mm-hmm.
just not necessarily with hair or nails, but as far as diet, a
Mm.
lot more
Okay.
Black people are going like vegan and
Mm-hmm.
vegetarian and all of that stuff. So I think it's just across the board, there's more of a holistic approach um, in this movement.
Yeah. And I agree with you on that. Along with like you said, the more earthy, natural movement in music, entertainment, and just culture overall. I think it's also because we just have so much more information now.
Hmm.
I think I can't remember the original I don't remember if it was a movie or a documentary, but there was something that came out that kind of broke down the effects of a perm on
Hmm.
your scalp. And I
Hmm.
think that hit a whole lot of Black women.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
this is really crazy. This can actually seep into my body and affect my head, my brain.
Yeah,
That's deep. That's heavy.
yeah.
Um,
And reproductive organs as well, because it's connected to fibroids. And,
mm,
it's a known fact that Black women are more susceptible to fibroids
mm,
than any other group. And so that's something to consider as well.
yeah. So, I think with us just in addition having that more information and more access to information, I think has a lot um to do with it. So let's get into something that isn't new, which is the term good hair, which has been around, hmm, I would say, since we've, whew, since
Since
a
we
little
what
while after we came off the boat, and and Massa got a hold of some of us, and had some little children with some hair that
right,
did not look like everybody else's.
right. Arrival at gate number 7. Right.
Yes, exactly.
uh yeah.
Um, so in all seriousness, no, though I'm sure it started kind of then, with the whole, um, being a house Negro, because
Mm,
of course you became a house Negro, the lighter you were, probably,
mm,
your hair looked different. It was a finer texture, and I think that probably just stayed with us, from then on, like so many other things in
mhm.
terms of, issues that we have in the Black community.
Right.
Um, and, that goes along with, even though we're in this natural hair movement, there's still this obsession with length.
Right.
Um, and I can't remember who it was because I watch all these YouTube videos, but there was one video where a young lady just kept talking about, why are we so obsessed with length? Why are we, pulling our natural hair to straighten it out to show
Mm,
you how long our hair is? Your hair isn't that long in its natural state. Its natural state is what it's in when it's nourished, you know, and curly. If you have to pull it out and hold it there, you know what I mean? And just listening to her, it's like, that makes sense. You know, that makes sense. So my hair isn't, this long, it's this long. And it's okay. Why? And then it's like, why is that such an obsession? So,
well, I think that well, first let me go back a little bit, because what some people may not know is, the continent of Africa is just there's just a vast array
mhm,
of depictions of, or variations, I should say, of melanin and how it is
mhm,
manifested.
mhm,
There are um, people that have very dark skin and tightly coiled hair. There
mhm,
are people with very fair skin that have, softer, straighter hair. If you go
mhm,
in certain regions, especially like Ethiopia,
mhm,
um, their hair is a straighter, um, less coiled
mhm,
um, pattern. You have people in that region who have gray eyes, green eyes, blue
yeah,
eyes. They're you know Everything comes from us.
mm,
So there's nothing that is depicted in this country or anywhere else that didn't somehow manifest in Africa first. So
mhm,
I want to lay that out there. Where the problem came in is when we arrived at gate number 7.
mm,
Uh,
through 10.
uh, right. um, there was a standard that was imposed upon us that was impossible to meet, and that
Mm-hmm.
was intentional. And if you are in an experience where you are being oppressed and treated as less than an animal,
Mm-hmm.
and there are ways for you to appear closer to human, I think most people in that scenario would opt to try to find ways to align themselves with those that would be closer to human.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have the house Negroes who are a byproduct of slaves and Europeans, and they have the fairer skin, and they have the less textured or less coiled hair, um, I think it's kind of part of the human condition to believe that you're somehow better because you've been told that you're terrible simply because you're black. So
Mm-hmm.
the less black that you are in all features,
Mm-hmm.
the better, I suppose.
Yeah.
And that just got further solidified and perpetuated throughout time. And we now do it to ourselves,
Yeah.
with that whole terminology of good hair and, good hair versus nappy hair and,
Mm-hmm.
all of that. We do it to ourselves. We don't even have to have um, someone talking to us about a standard of beauty
Mm-hmm.
because we believe that lie.
Yeah.
Just generally speaking, not you and I, but just generally speaking, we
Yeah.
believe that lie, and so we impose it on each other.
Yeah. It's true, but yeah, it's very true, and it's so evident. It's really so evident. I mean, I know it exists in, you know, like the Latino community in terms of colorism
Hmm.
in communities of color, but it just seems so detrimental,
Hmm.
really to our community. But
Hmm.
I agree. You have to go back and, look at where it started, where it came from, and how it's just kind of infiltrated, in different ways throughout time. Um, and something that I noticed some time ago, and just like looking at different ads, looking at different commercials for natural hair products, and it seems that the loose pattern curl, um, and the um, what's the word I'm looking for? The fair skinned, and I'm losing my words. The girl whose race you cannot really determine by first
Hmm.
look,
Hmm.
she has become the face. Her hair has become the face, if you will, of
Right.
natural hair,
Right.
which to me is laughable
Right.
because
Racial ambiguity.
there we go. Ding 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 ding.
Yeah.
Couldn't find it in my mind. Um Somehow she has taken over, as being the face of natural hair. And I'm
Hmm.
like, so what had happened is that we went from, you know, perms being the thing and the norm, because it very much was the
Hmm.
norm. Like, you were a black girl, you had a perm. It's just, that was life. You went from getting your hair pressed, got a little bit
Right.
older, and you got a perm.
Hmm.
And that was
Right.
the life of a black woman. Um,
Oh, honorable mention to the wayward folks that had a jerry curl in betwixt.
oh, can can I just give a shout out to my mama for telling me no on a Jerry curl?
Thank you, Auntie.
Thank you, mama. I
Ain't
know
nobody got
it
time for
was.
the bag and the spray, honey. We got things to do.
She was like, I ain't fitting to change up all of my bed linens every day.
Could you imagine us in the country with that wagon with three wheels going down a dirt road and you got a jerry curl?
With all that dust up in that sticky Jerry curl.
Ooh, it would have looked like one of those Christmas trees that had a fake snow on it. Yes, a
Oh,
million thank yous, Auntie. We appreciate you.
because I sure enough wanted one. She was like, no,
Oh, goodness
absolutely
gracious.
not. Oh, child, I've forgotten about that. That's, mm,
uh,
okay.
yeah.
I don't know how that came about. That'll have to be the research because I don't know where in the world.
I don't either. I don't either. Oh, it was
um,
so terrible.
but I will say that I have seen some YouTube videos where some naturals actually say those products work on natural hair.
What, the Jerry Curl products?
Yeah, the spray. What was the spray?
Activator?
The activator. There you go. The activator does well on natural hair. Hi, y'all. Like,
Well, I hope that they improve the recipe because I remember being on the school bus, and I would hate sitting behind the kids with the Jerry curl when the window would be down because that smell would go smack in my face. Y'all know what we talking about. Them
well,
Jerry curls didn't smell pleasant.
I will say this too, and this is a true story. There was a friend of mine in middle school, and we went to a very predominantly white middle school. And she had, I don't know if it was a curly kit or a Jerry curl, one of the two, because you know that's what you had, curly kit or a Jerry curl. She had one of the two, and she went into science class in the science lab
Oh, Lord.
and used the Bunsen burner. It didn't burn all her hair, but it was a while before she lived that down.
On the Michael Jackson Pepsi commercial side of the game.
Yes, she didn't end up in the hospital. Her scalp was intact. You know, it didn't go very far. I don't know if somebody beat her head up or she beat her head up or what happened. But yeah, that was the story
Oh.
going around the school for some time. I felt so bad for her because she was a friend of mine. I felt so bad for her. That mess was funny. I'm sorry.
Oh. Oh my goodness. Shout out to Jared's kids. Hope everything healed well. Oh my
So
gosh.
yes, that was a
Oh, that went
tangent, y'all, but it was worth it.
yeah, that went all the way to the left. Whew.
That's probably what she said.
But as soon as you say Jerry Curl in science lab, we know it's gonna be some consequences and ramifications going on.
Okay.
Okay, let's get back on track.
Oh my lord. Okay.
Yes,
Let's get it together.
yes,
All
as we
right.
wipe the tears from our eyes. Whew.
Okay. Um. So we were talking about how the racially ambiguous girls
Yes,
have some, and not saying it's their fault or
right.
anything like that. Not saying that, but they are being used as the face of natural hair. So we have
Right.
gone from, like I was saying, to what was our natural hair state to,
Mhm.
you know, getting our hair pressed all the time, getting a perm, and then, back now to this new natural hair movement, but it's not always celebrating natural hair in
Right.
all of its different textures, lengths. coils, curls. It's, when I think what's being pushed now is when you picture natural hair, you picture this loose curl.
Right.
And I'm like, come on, y'all. It,
Mhm.
you're missing the point of this. The point of it is to celebrate our natural hair in
Right.
all of its variety, which I
Mhm.
think is amazing and beautiful. The things that we can do with our hair in all its different textures, to me, is absolutely freaking amazing.
Mhm.
And to minimize it to just that one texture because it's acceptable, quote unquote, acceptable,
Right.
is like, we're defeating or missing the purpose rather in, this moment and this movement. We're supposed to be going back to celebrating us in our natural hair, not moving to a place where it's saying, okay, this natural thing is good, but it's much better if it's like this.
Right.
So, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, we have seen time and time again how our creativity, when it comes to our hair and just our, even though I don't really like to use the word swag, but for lack of a better way of describing just our essence, that
Mm-hmm.
thing that makes us us.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was, Bo Derek with the cornrows, like time after time, whatever it is that we do to kind of express ourselves through our hair or our look, it is whitewashed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And and this is just another variation of that. Just because the woman is now racially ambiguous as opposed to blonde hair and blue eyes, it's still the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To me anyway, it's still the same thing. And I believe that there's beauty and power in celebrating how the creator created you,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And that's not something to be ashamed of. That's not something to um, compare to others' natural state and
Mm-hmm.
think that you have to aspire to that,
Mm-hmm.
um, because, you know, the creator made you the way he made you
Right.
and them as them.
Yeah.
So I get I get a little perturbed from the aspect of natural hair being a conversation when there's self-hatred involved.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're choosing not to have natural hair because you believe that the way that the creator made someone else is better, and so you try to look like that,
Mm.
that's problematic to me.
It is.
If you're simply being creative and you like different looks and you're all over the gamut from natural hair to weaves, wigs, all of these different things, and that's just like how a part of how you express yourself, and it's not connected to any type of self-hatred, then by all means do you,
Right.
you know but anytime that you look in the mirror and you feel like the way that the creator made you isn't good enough, that's problematic,
Yeah.
you
I,
know
I, I totally agree. And I think you and I had a conversation about this, of course, offline before. And I ended up making some comments on Facebook because there was a video posted um, from the Steve Harvey show. And there was a gentleman who had asked a question because it was a segment called Ask Steve. And he pretty much had an issue with the fact that he had never seen his girlfriend's natural hair.
Mhm.
You know, she always wore wigs and weaves. And so he obviously was bothered by it because he asked the question. And he
Mhm.
asked Steve, should he be concerned that he's never seen her natural hair? And Steve pretty much was like, "Nah, what's wrong with you? You know, like she likes to change it up. You know, what difference does it make?" And I'm sitting here going, "Y'all been dating." I think he said it had been, I wanted to say he had been a couple years. Y'all been dating for this period. If it had been a few months and you hadn't seen her natural hair,
Mhm.
I'm sorry. That's an issue.
Yeah,
I mean, that's an issue.
it is.
What is going on with her that she doesn't want to wear her natural hair out? Like you said, a lot of women love to change it up, and I think that's great. But see, change means you had one thing and went to another.
Right.
She ain't had that one thing, which is her natural hair. So
Right.
that's not changing. That's not, oh, I'm aware of my natural hair, you know, sometimes, and sometimes I'll put in a weave or braids or a wig or whatever. Change it up.
Mhm.
See, that's changing it up. When you do not want your natural hair to be out ever,
Yeah,
that's a problem.
it's a problem. It really is a problem. And then too, I just think of, especially when you're talking about building a future with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
you should want them to see you in all forms. Even if you feel like your natural state is your worst state, which is horrible, but
Mm-hmm.
even if you feel that way, wouldn't you want your partner to be exposed to that so that if you believe that this is your worst and he sees you at your worst and he still chooses you,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to a facade? Because there's going to come a time in the duration of your relationship where you're not going to be able to maintain that.
Yeah.
And we just saw that with COVID when the salons and everything had to shut down. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? I'm sure there was some surprise brothers across this seeing some things. I'm just saying.
I
I'm
hadn't even
just
thought
saying.
about that. I mean, shoot, I'm sure it's been some surprise sisters too.
Oh, for sure.
Like
For
this brother
sure.
without a haircut, Jesus.
With that horseshoe do, boo.
Why is your hairline gone?
Trying to tell you. Trying to tell you.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Um. So yeah. So let's talk about, and this is, phew, we could be here forever. Let's talk about learning your hair. The whole thing of, okay, I decided to go natural, and I'll kind of start with what I did, and I believe, I'm trying to remember. I want to say I've been natural since like 2011,
Mhm.
somewhere around there, 2008 to 2011. I'm not really sure.
Mhm.
And I was already trying to transition to being natural, meaning I was just letting the perm grow out. I wasn't getting a perm any longer, and I decided to let it grow out. Okay. If anybody has seen what that looked like after a while, if you've seen a certain episode of Lovecraft Country, yeah,
I haven't.
okay. But for those who have, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It just wasn't cute. Okay, because you got
Mhm.
all of this naturalness going on here at the rut,
Mhm. Yeah.
and then you got like all these random pieces.
It start
So
off as Booker T. Washington and ends up as Kerry Washington. Is that what you're saying?
it's something like that. Something like that. Yeah. So I decided that I was just gonna go into the bathroom and do a big chop.
Mhm.
So that's exactly what I did. I just did a big chop and cut out all the perm hair, and I had my cute little, curly afroette, if you
Mhm.
will. Um, and so I'd already been trying to kind of learn my hair from that little bit, but then once I, chopped it, I really had to. And just the different products, you don't know where to start, you know. And I think at that time I wasn't like super online and into YouTube, but of course now, good gracious, you could be on YouTube and, you know, for days finding stuff. And you go in some of the stores like Target. Shout out to Target, y'all have a great selection on natural hair products. That's Shout out to Target on that. um and so you just have to try all of these products, and some of them are expensive. The ones that have more natural ingredients are
Mhm.
expensive.
Of course.
I mean, one brand, a jar of conditioner or whatever, or curly pudding or whatever it was, was like $35.
Wow.
$35.
Wow.
It's like, oh, it's gonna work one way or another. Whether it slick me down and have me look like Cab Calloway or whatever it does, this $35 jar of curly pudding is gonna work today. But
Ah,
I know that's probably one thing that really deters some women in terms of you try this natural hair journey, and it's like I can't figure out what my hair needs, what my hair likes. I'm trying all these different products. You know, I know a lot of naturals joke about under their bathroom sink is a Target. It's a hair aisle at Target,
mhm.
because you've tried all this different stuff, it doesn't work. So then you put that under the sink and try something else. Next thing
Yeah.
you know, what do I do with all of this? And so then it's like, just forget it, because your hair is like, I don't know what you want me to do.
Right.
Even if I knew, I won't go do it no way.
Yes.
So yeah, it's quite a journey, and I'm still learning my hair. I'm
Mhm.
getting better as I go along, but I'm still learning my hair. And it's kind of frustrating because you think about it and it's like, I don't think any other race has this issue.
Right. Right.
You know,
It's
it's
true.
it's craziness. And that, along with even having to defend our own hair and wearing our own hair, which sounds so dumb. I understand because it goes along with, racism and that
Hmm.
whole system.
Yeah.
But
Because it
to
was
think,
illegal at one point for us to even show our hair as Black women in this country. It was against the law.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So that
there are
that's
still
powerful.
laws being put in place making it illegal to discriminate against natural hair. Like, y'all
Right.
so crazy. Laws have to be made for y'all to not say, "Oh, you can't wear your hair the way it grows out of your head."
Right.
I'm sorry, what? God said it could, but I guess
Ah,
you know better.
right. Right.
But yeah.
Well, and just to take it off of the path for just a brief moment, um, our hair in its natural state, the texture of it naturally magnetizes nutrients from the sun.
Hmm.
Okay, this is part of our makeup, and you can look it up if you don't believe me out there or whatever. But this is something that naturally happens, um, just based upon the region that we originated from. The Creator perfected how we were to respond and interact with nature. And
Oh.
so when you factor in relaxers, Jerry curls, all of these products that strip away the
Mhm.
natural aspect of things. What does that mean as far as our interaction with the universe? And
Mhm.
like, how can we be in alignment with with the world that we live in
Yeah.
if we are constantly trying to strip away what is natural to us? So I wanted to throw that piece in there
Mhm.
um, before I say that when you were talking about, we're the only race that really has to basically like give a justification almost. It's like we're giving a justification, like, please excuse us. This is the way God made us.
Right.
Sorry about that. You know what I mean? Like, we're the only ones that kind of have to have that disclaimer.
Yeah.
And when I think about, I think more often than not, the Black woman's experience as a young Black girl was growing up not knowing what their natural hair looked like, whether
Mhm.
you were getting it pressed on Saturday night so that you could go to church on Sunday morning,
Mhm.
whether it was getting relaxers at a very early age, whether it was doing the Jerry curl thing in the 80s.
Mhm.
For a lot of us, this natural hair movement has been the time for us to see for the very first time
That's true.
what our hair actually looks like and what it does.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that as adults, we're having to learn how to take care of our hair
Yeah.
in its natural state because we've never seen it before.
Nope. That is
You know?
crazy.
It is. And, of course, there's issues of what makes it manageable and all of this kind of stuff. But at the same time, when we think about it on a deeper level, the psyche of a young Black girl at an early age,
Mhm.
she's being shown that how she was designed naturally by her creator is not sufficient.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that is the messaging.
Yeah.
And we can twist it however we want to, but that is the messaging.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's 3-year-olds walking around with sew-ins.
Ah, girl, it is so disturbing. So disturbing.
Unbelievable.
So
Unbelievable.
disturbing.
And there's no way that you can tell me that that is not um that doesn't have some type of effect
Yeah.
on their self-esteem. You know what I mean? In one way or another. It has an effect on the self-esteem. And I'll tell you, I when I started, going through the whole natural hair process, I did the same thing that you did as far as um, the Booker T and the Kerry Washington in the back. Uh, but I kept sew-ins
Mhm.
while I was going through that process. And one day, like, it was itching so bad. And I remember looking in the mirror, and it was just like I was sticking all kinds of objects in there because I was just trying to get to my scalp and everything. And it was almost like I heard a voice saying to me, like it was like I was having a conversation with my subconscious about how I felt about myself and my natural hair, and having someone else's hair from Colombia or wherever
Mhm.
in my hair, and me thinking that that is somehow an improvement from what I
Mhm.
had. And I
Mhm.
was so troubled by that because
Yeah.
I always considered myself to be, more of, militant minded, for
Mhm.
lack of a better way of explaining it, since I was a kid,
Mhm.
so to have been somebody who had never had any type of wigs, weaves, or anything, to changing into someone who faithfully got sew-ins on a regular basis and spent
Mhm.
a whole lot of money, and my whole mindset shifted into me thinking that that was better. I didn't
Mhm.
even realize that it was happening as it was happening.
Yeah.
It was just at that moment I cut all of that hair out,
Mhm.
all of the sew-in hair out, and I got locks, and that was in
Wow.
2012. And I've had locks ever since. I
Mhm.
love it. I plan on returning to the earth with locks.
Mhm.
Um, and it has been the greatest thing that I have ever done. And I feel strong. I feel powerful. I feel like I am I am representing my true self.
Mhm.
That's my experience. I can't
Yeah.
speak for anybody else, but um, I have never felt more beautiful than I do now with my hair being the way that it is. As
Mhm.
much as I thought that I was cute, and this is not on some arrogant stuff, this is just like 100% real.
Mhm.
I was walking around with someone else's hair
Mhm.
on my head, and I was thinking that that is what would make me attractive. And I thought it so much that I was spending $200 and $300 every time to
Mhm.
get it done. You know what I mean? That was, of course, the style and the purchase of the hair combined. But either
Yeah.
way, you know,
Yeah.
I'm making sure that I have enough money in my budget to do this because I believe that this is somehow improving my look, my value, my whatever.
Mhm.
Totally subconscious.
Yeah.
Not seeing the connection to self-hatred. And like I said, that's not to say that everybody who gets sew-ins and weaves and all of that, it comes from a place of self-hatred. I'm not saying that.
Mhm.
But it doesn't hurt to maybe do a little self-evaluation to figure out why it is that you're doing what you're doing.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Especially
That's
when
it.
it's on, like you say, a consistent basis. It's not, oh, I want to change,
Right.
kind of thing. Because look, we we recognize that taking care of our natural hair is work for
Yeah.
most of us. Not all of
Hmm.
us, but for most of us, it's work.
Right.
Moisturizing and detangling, and I mean, it's a day. This is they have we have hair day.
Yeah.
It's called hair day for a reason. Not because we doing hair today. It's because we doing hair all day
All day.
today. You got to put
Right.
this on your calendar and stuff. You know, so I know, Lord. So we recognize that. And of course, sometimes it's like, look, I want to take a break. I want to, maybe get a sew in, maybe, slap on a wig, maybe even and get, braids, But yeah, it's something to really, think about in terms of why have we kind of shifted that way? Because someone will say, oh, well, my hair is natural. I just have a sew in. Okay. I mean, technically, yeah, you're natural. But if you have to tell me you're natural and I can't see that you're natural, are you natural?
It's naturally tucked under that lady from Peru's hair. It's naturally tucked. That's what it is.
Oh my gosh. Did you watch the movie Bad Hair?
No, and when this topic came up, I was like, I know she's gonna ask me if I've ever seen that movie. I just felt it in my spirit. But no, I have not seen it.
You have to see. I wish you had seen it before today, but it's a sort of a campy comedic horror movie. But in all of that, it makes you think. It is deep. And I'm sorry if I ruin it for anyone who hasn't watched it, but whatever. Um it goes into, okay. It's about women who are getting weave, and it kind of goes through a little bit of a story of these women that are working at I think it's a music studio or music company. It's supposed to be sort of like MTV, right?
Mhm.
And it's based in, I believe, the 80s into early 90s. And so it's these women in the office, and um, they want to kind of get ahead. And Vanessa Williams ends up taking over the company. Okay. And Vanessa Williams wants the other women in the black women in the office to have a certain look. So she kind of
Mm.
holds over their head, oh, you could be this or you could do that, you know, but we're looking
Mhm.
for a certain look. And so they are sent to this certain salon to get a wig. But unbeknownst to them, the hair that is being literally sewn into their scalp and not into their hair, which is hard to watch. But that is witch's hair.
Okay, so for the sake of spoiler alerts, I'll take it from there for as far as because I can see where it's going.
Yeah.
I can see where it's going.
So it makes you think, and it's a little disturbing.
Yeah.
It's a little disturbing, but it's good. It's good. It's like I said, it's comedic. It has a comedy in it. It's like packed with stars. Like you look and go, you
Oh,
know,
see now I'm gonna have to look at that tonight now.
yeah,
You gonna have me up late.
it's good stuff. But again, it does really it makes you think. I believe, is it on Hulu? It's on Hulu.
Okay.
It's called Bad Air.
Okay.
Okay, so let's take a break right here.
Okay. So, as you all have seen in the last two episodes, we now have a um, portion of the podcast that's called In Your Black Business, where we are highlighting a Black business owner um, during that segment. So this week, we are highlighting Tia Lewis. Now, Tia Lewis is a real estate agent with Goldston Real Estate Incorporated in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area, providing home buyers and sellers with professional, responsive, and attentive real estate services. Want an agent who will really listen to what you want in a home? Need an agent who knows how to effectively market your home? So it sells. You can reach Tia at 240-351-0258. That is 240-351-0258. Or email Tia at golstonrealestate.com. That's TIA at GOLSTON realestate.com. She's eager to help and would love to talk to you.
Right. So yes, guys, let's take advantage of having this information and take the opportunity to support Black business. All right. Okay. So jumping back in, let's talk about we really kind of touched on it already, somewhat. Backlash from society and those closest to you um,
Mm.
when you start your natural journey.
Hmm.
Um, because of course, like we said, it's us doing it to us
Yeah,
at this point, and some people are just not very kind, I'll
right.
say, and understanding that this is a journey, and your hair can look toe. Okay, I'm not gonna make it cute. Your hair can look
Right,
toe up during this
right,
journey because you're trying to figure it out. You have no idea. You
right.
know, you're just learning, like you said, you're a grown person, just
Mhm,
now learning what your hair texture really is,
mhm.
whether your hair needs a lot of moisture, whether your hair does well with being, I don't know, braided, loose, whatever. You have no idea what products to use in it. You know, we're just now really in the last few years even getting a variety of products that work for our hair with,
Right.
without going in the kitchen and having to mix something else ourselves. So yeah, um a lot of I'm sure a lot of people have experienced family and friends just not being very um, gracious, I'd say,
Absolutely.
with you going through this journey and figuring out.
Absolutely. Um, I will say that for the most part, I am the only woman that has locks in my family,
Hmm.
as far as my immediate family goes.
Hmm.
And it was stressful, which is odd. Seems stressful for a lot of people. I'm thinking,
It's
but
not
I'm
your hair.
right. I'm living this. Like you see me here and there, but this is my life and what I'm doing. So I'm trying to understand how me going through this journey, it's taking such a toll on you. Like it
Yeah.
was just,
Yeah.
and
I'm confused.
even prior to that, before I went natural, I would switch it up. Had my hair, I remember cutting my hair really short at one point, like,
Hmm.
the Tony Braxton cut
Hmm.
at
I
one
remember
time.
that.
And it was like people were losing their minds.
Yeah.
Oh, that thick hair, beautiful hair you had, and you cut it off. Well,
It'll grow
it
back.
grows back.
Kind of how hair works. It's wonderful.
And so it's interesting to see how that works. And the irony of that is, cutting my hair was a problem, but also growing locks was a problem. But now my hair is longer than it's ever been.
Right.
Like it's down my back.
Hmm.
And now it's not the length that's the conversation. It's the locks
Hmm.
that's the conversation.
Hmm.
Because now all of a sudden I run the risk of being viewed. I don't know, a savage, a voodoo priestess. I don't know what
Yeah.
they think.
It's
But
the
either way it goes,
ignorance that's
right.
attached to it. It's the not knowing. And instead of asking questions, it's just like, why why you do that? Here's the question. Why you do that?
Right.
And it's not asked like they want a sincere answer.
Right.
It's asked in judgment. What they really wanted to say is, don't do that.
Right. I had one person, this was like early in my lock journey. It was probably maybe a year in or something, but it wasn't somebody that I saw on a regular basis. And, they kind of like picked up a lock, looking at it, and it was like, so, what exactly is this that you're doing?
You know what?
Anybody who knows, like, year one is a rough time, but either way it goes, you go pick it up, you know what I mean, and say, what is this exactly that you're doing? I'm like, this is a cold world, man. It's a cold world.
No, the question was she talking to you, or he talking to you, or talking to the hair?
I think there was confusion on all fronts.
There are days I have those conversations with my hair. What are you doing? And my hair says, oh, what are you doing?
I'm sitting here excited about the progression at year one, and I'm thinking like, how is there confusion? Like, I know that they're fuzzy and everything. They haven't fully, come into their own, but I'm feeling proud about it. And there you picking
Mm,
it up, you know what I mean? Like it's a dried string bean or something, trying to figure out what I'm doing. It was
girl,
just, it was crazy. It
I'm
was
telling
crazy.
you, if you feeling good about something you doing, go visit some family. They'll take care of that right away. Ain't gonna be no joy and pride doing something different from the rest of us. You can forget that.
Oh my
Oh my
goodness.
gosh.
That's funny. That is
But
funny.
yeah. So I don't know, and it's really funny to me because it's mostly um older people that seem to have these issues. And it's like, but don't you remember the natural hair movement back in the day? I
Right.
mean, we were definitely living at that time.
Right.
You definitely remember it. It was, power to the people, Angela Davis with the fro. But I guess, oh, that was then. That went with the movement. And they were all like really nice shaped froze. It's like, oh,
Right.
so it has to be specifically that.
Right.
Because that was a very specific thing too.
Hmm.
And it's just really it's interesting
It's very
to
interesting.
me.
And that made me think about one of my girlfriends. She told me about, she was in a store one day, and she has a close haircut, kind of like a fade. And she said that an older woman came up to her and basically was talking to her as if, she was going to struggle to find a man because her hair was like that, not
Mm.
knowing that she's been married to a fantastic man
Mm.
for, out of 8, 7, 8, 9 years, something like that. And she was just telling us about that. And I was just like, and it was an older woman,
Mhm.
like you said. And I think that the messaging of old dies hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why white supremacists don't have to go as hard now as they have before, because
Yeah.
we do it to
Yeah.
ourselves.
They've done their job. They did it very
Exactly.
well.
Exactly. So we do it for them. The self-loathing, the
Hmm.
self-hating, we do that to ourselves now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and honestly, I think initially, when these negative comments and total lack of support and just insensitivity in terms of starting and going on this natural journey, it comes from a place of uh how dare you do something different? This is like this is unacceptable. It's
Right.
unkept.
Right.
That's the word some people would like to throw around. Well, it's unkept. Well, it's my natural hair. So you need to go talk to Jesus about that. But you can't say that because then that's rude. But
Right.
you know, um, and it's interesting because then I think later on it may be some validity, when someone says, well, you're going to catch some backlash in finding a job, and that is true. That is
Hmm.
very true. But again, it's like that's not the initial reason. You know what
Right.
I mean? That someone is usually coming at you, and it makes some people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like you said, it's like it's not your hair, but it makes some people uncomfortable because it's different. It's not the norm. Um, and for so long, we as Black women did not express ourselves in that way because we were trained not to.
Right.
So to see some of us walking around with this fabulous, fabulous, like big hair, in different, all these different textures, these different styles, bantu knots, locks, and just everything. Like it's, I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it, and it's amazing. But there are a lot of people that are just not comfortable with it, simply because we have been trained not to express ourselves that way, and it looks powerful.
Yeah.
And that does not come off well to a lot of
It doesn't.
people.
Right. Because how dare we?
Yeah.
How dare we celebrate our natural selves?
Mm.
You know what I mean? And when you really think about it, it's like how ridiculously arrogant and privileged
Mm.
you have to be to decide that the position from where you stand is the standard
Mm.
and everyone else has to meet you there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And at the same time, you can say that you're, a Christian or whatever else, that you try to hold some type of moral authority. Um, but that moral authority that you're supposedly living by created
Mm-hmm.
these differences.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These differences and deemed it good,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
It
it's crazy,
is.
but and to this was something that I wanted to mention
Mhm.
because I remember I like to, have a little fun on social media sometimes, and I remember being in a discussion with people that I didn't know,
Mhm.
and it was about some type of, black power issue or something like that. I don't
Mhm.
remember what the subject matter was, but it had to do with like empowering black people.
Mhm.
And someone on the thread, this was years ago when I had a sew-in and my profile picture was me with a sew-in, and someone whether questioned my authenticity
Mhm.
to the movement
Mhm.
because I had a sew-in.
Okay.
So basically, they were trying to disqualify what I was saying
Mhm.
because they felt that since I had a sew-in, there was no way that I could be real uh, or down for the cause.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to ask you, what your thoughts are on that. Do you believe that hair in any way is related to consciousness?
Well, yes. I mean, we've been everything we've talked about here, has to do with becoming conscious of yourself. And the hair journey is a part of that. And quite frankly, and we've talked about this a few minutes ago, really, quite frankly, if you have some women who that is what they do. They don't get up in the morning and comb their hair. They get up in the morning and comb the hair on their dresser and put it on their head. That's your day. You get what I'm saying? Because
Uh-huh.
you have to cover this stuff. You get what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
whatever this is I got going on my head is unacceptable,
Right.
right? And I have to
Mhm.
cover it. And some people will say it's just hair. No, ma'am. Because if it was just hair, you'd wear it, right? It's
Mhm.
deeper. And whoever was saying that to you, of course, they didn't know you. And so in their mind, you're someone who just always wears, you know, wigs and weaves. You don't wear your hair. You're ashamed of your hair.
Mhm.
You aren't really down for the cause. You're not, conscious of all that. And I can understand that when you're just meeting somebody, that's a judgment I don't think is right to make
Mhm.
when you just meet somebody.
Right.
I understand where they were coming from because I
Yes.
do agree. I mean, I don't know if I would totally disqualify somebody, be like, from the whole cause for black people. I mean, Lord, just throw the whole baby away. But, you know, sometimes we get a little too, you know, calm the fist
Yeah.
down a little bit. But but I kind of understand where they're coming from. If you have some people, it's like I'm gonna get you sucker. The brother that had two white children, selling the bean pies. It's like something's wrong with
Right.
this scenario, brother.
Right.
You're woke,
Right.
but not all the way.
Yeah. Right. No, and I get it. And when she said that to me, because it was a female, when
Mhm.
she said that to me, it it hit me to my core
Yeah.
because, like I said, the self-hatred thing manifested without me even recognizing it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So I was just kind of like detached
Mhm.
from what it was that I was actually doing
Yeah.
and what message that it sends, because whether we agree with it or not, how we show up in the world, people are going to, draw their own
Yeah.
conclusions. based upon that.
Yeah.
And even though I, at the time, did not like what she said,
Mhm.
I still thought about what she
Yeah.
said. And I'm thankful that it stayed with me in a significant way. Not to say that that had anything to do with the change that I made, because I
Mhm.
don't recall that being a part of me actually cutting the sew-in out or anything like that.
Mhm.
But I'm glad that she actually had the nerve to say that to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I had never thought about how how wearing a sew-in could potentially diminish the value of what I'm saying
Yeah.
to someone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I always felt like, if you're principled, if you're educated, and you express a thought, then it'll be, you know, held at that, especially when you're speaking with your peers. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? If it's corporate America and you're dealing with people that don't look like you and stuff, that's a whole other conversation. But when you're
Mhm.
dealing with your peers, I thought that that was a reasonable expectation, not even realizing what that was putting out there in
Mhm.
that particular community, you
Yeah.
know? And so whether people agree with that or not, you know, impressions are exactly that. They're impressions. And you
Yeah.
don't get to dictate to somebody else what it means
Yeah.
for them,
Right. That's
you
true.
know?
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, and I'm glad you asked that, and I'm glad you were able to kind of see it that way because I mean I think it is important, and I'll have to find it. But there was another video that I found that was this huge forum of black women, all black women. Well, they were all black, mostly women, some transgender. Okay. But it was a forum for black women to just talk about women's issues, and I think it was different episodes. One episode was specifically about hair,
Hmm.
and it was just actually really good to hear different women's views on their thoughts and their experiences, and a lot of them were kind of saying the same things that we're saying. But I was amazed at how many women were just kind of going in and going hard in terms of, their weave and their wigs.
Like, as far as
Um,
defending them, wanting to
yeah,
keep them.
yeah. And not
Mm,
seeing, a different point of view about how it does seem to kind of express self hatred, whether you realize it or not.
right.
It does. And it's like, of course, when you say that to people, they're going to get defensive because they're like, I think I'm beautiful. It's like thinking you're beautiful and um not necessarily being proud of how you look naturally
Right.
can both exist,
Right.
you know um but I do think in terms of us having a conversation and being a part of, quote, the movement, it is
Hmm.
important to show up as your authentic self, not in just the way you look, you
Right.
know, but in other ways. We can,
Word,
that's a
deed,
whole
and
nother
action.
conversation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that's a part of it. I think, if you have someone who, and this is kind of going somewhere else, but if you have someone who shows up and they're, Gucci, Versace down, red bottom down, with a head full of weave, and they talking about some black power, where do we begin?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, and this, you know what? I'm gonna do a plug. I'm gonna do a plug for a luxury, black owned business. This is totally off topic. Well, it's not actually, because you were just talking about
Hmm.
name brands, but there's a luxury black owned brand called Ramomar. I want to say
Okay.
it's Ramomar.
Mm-hmm.
High end um, clothes, bags, shoes. They have like the images of like the Egyptian what is it, hieroglyphics?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it's called? Yeah. All kinds of things. Really, really cool. So just
Okay.
sidebar. There
Okay.
if you want to um walk around in expensive clothes and have luxury and that type of thing, you could do that um and still help a black owned business,
Mm-hmm.
and if you think that there's no such thing as a luxury black owned business, or the only way that it can qualify as
Mm.
a luxury business is if it's one of these European labels, then once again, I think you need to go into your handy dandy notebook and start reflecting
Yeah.
on where all the self-hatred is coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, let's just go ahead and say, I'm going to say this. I'm not going to be apologetic at all about anything we've said in our discussion.
Hmm.
But I will say it is coming from a place of love and reflection. It's not coming from a place of judgment.
Hmm.
Because not just this hair journey, but this journey of a Black woman, we're all in it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And we all have our own different experiences, our own different challenges. We learn at different times. We have different ideas.
Right.
All we ask is that you guys, listen openly and reflect. You may agree, you may
Hmm.
disagree. It's all good. It's all part of our journey together as um, Black women.
Right.
So I think we can go ahead and wrap it up. We have exercised the demons, as NERDSoul would say. We have pressed the
Ah,
roots. No,
we're gonna wrap it up with a do rag
we'll
or
wrap it with a
a
do
silk
rag.
scarf or
Put some put some bantus in it.
right, right,
Gucci
right.
braids.
Yeah, I think this was a fantastic discussion, and
Yeah.
we always add these qualifiers and things like that. So please, ladies, in no way are we saying that you hate yourself or you hate your people if you are wearing wigs or weaves, um, uh, as opposed to your natural hair. That's not what the messaging is here at all. If you do wear wigs or weaves, ask yourself, like truly, truly, honestly reflect and ask yourself why it is that you do what you do. And
Mm,
if it simply is just creative expression, and you wear your hair, you wear weaves, you wear wigs, you do all kinds of different things, fine, so be it. But if there's anything else outside of that is going on, if there's anything that troubles you about the idea of being natural, that's
mm,
something to that's something to look into. So
yeah.
this is not coming from a place of judgment, it's coming from a place of love, and it's just an honest conversation.
Yep.
And we're two women who had fake hair swinging in our day,
Yep.
and now we're on a different path, and it doesn't mean that, we're better, worse, whatever, than we were then or in comparison to anybody else.
Hmm.
But this is our journey. And if our journey can be of benefit or value to anybody else, then this episode was worth it. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, once again, thank you all for listening. We ask that you like, share, subscribe. We have some great things coming to you guys that we are working on behind the scenes. So just be sure to continue to check us out and to listen. We want to thank NerdSoul once again, as always, for allowing us to be on this platform. Again, check out Black Together, the original, on Tuesdays. On Wednesdays, Beats Vibes Live with the Four Horsemen, and Fridays you can check out me and Urso once again on Loungin'. Go and pick yourself up a t-shirt or a sweatshirt on shop.ThatNERDSoul.com. So thanks, you guys, and bye, y'all.
Peace, love, and light, everybody.